Hello and welcome to 25.3 Notes, Interior Angles of Triangles. First thing I want you to do is write down this section right here where it says all interior angles add up to 180. You need to know that the inside triangle angles are all going to add together to be 180 degrees. So for instance, this triangle here that we are going to look at, this first one, we have 180 degrees is our total. That is going to include the 34 plus the 43. I'm sorry, that's 32. 32 plus 43 plus whatever this angle is. I'm just going to call it x. So you can work it through one of two ways. One is you can go ahead and set it up like I have set it up, and you can say 32 plus 43 is going to be 75 plus x equals 180. And then we go ahead and we subtract out the 75 from both sides. And then we have 105 equals x. Or you could say, I know that I have 180. I'm going to subtract out the 32. And then I'm going to subtract out the 43. And then I'm going to find out what I have left. Either way, you're going to reach 105. So measure of angle 1 equals 105 degrees. Our next one is this measure of angle 2 right here. And so we want to find out what that triangle is, this triangle right here. And so we're going to have 180, and it's going to equal 59 plus 21 plus x. Or we could say 180 minus 59 minus the 21 after that, and that will equal x. Go ahead and punch that into your calculator. And we're going to see that x is going to equal 100 degrees. Okay, so the same thing with the next two. Go ahead and hit pause and work through the next two. See if you can find the measure of angle 3 and 4, and then we'll come back together. Okay, so here's the work for 3. I did 180 minus the 50 minus the 45 and got 85. Or you could have set it up this way. The 180 equals the 50 plus the 45 plus the x. Together, 50 and 45 is going to be 95. So then I have 95 plus the other angle is going to be 180. Subtract out the 95 from both sides so that it'll cancel. We get x equals 85. The other option for number 4 is to go ahead and do 180 minus 65 minus 20 to get 95. Or you could have done your work over here. Over here it shows 180 equals 65 plus 20 plus x. We've added 65 and 20. And then we've subtracted out the 85 from both sides to find out what x equals. I went ahead and worked through the measure of angle F again over here. And I did 180 equals 61 plus 103 plus x, because remember all three angles are going to add up to be 180. And I'm going to add these two together and get 164, subtract it from both sides and get 16 equals x. We could have also done 180 minus 103 minus 61 in my calculator, and I would have found that my answer was 16. Okay, looking at part 2, the problem says that the diagram shows a ladder against a wall and the angle that the ladder makes with the ground, which is a 90-degree angle. It's a right angle. So the question is do you know that this equals 90 degrees? And we've been over that, so most of you do. And so then we just go ahead and do the problem the exact same way. I have 180 equals 90 plus the 63 plus the x. So you're going to go ahead and work that through. 90 plus 63 is 153 plus x equals 180. Subtract out the 153. Once again, we're looking for those to cancel. Then I have 180 minus 153 and I get that x is 27 degrees. Now, a few of you will know that 180 minus the 90 is 90. And so if you know that, then you could have just said 90 minus 63, and then you would have gotten 27. And that's just an added step that you would have saved yourself just by knowing your math facts a little bit. Okay, let's move on. On the back page, the measure of one of the acute angles in a right triangle is 42.4. What is the measure of the other acute angle? Now you notice that it says a right triangle. All right triangles have, by definition, a right angle in them. And so we know that we have 180. We know that we have one that is going to be a 90-degree angle just because it's a right angle. And then we also know that the other angle is 42.4, and then an unknown angle of x or y or whatever that is. So then we're going to go ahead and add the 90 and the 42.4, and we're going to get 132.4. Plus x is going to equal 180. Subtract out the 132.4, and you will find that it is going to be 47.6 degrees. Now, the other thing that they want you to know based on this information is, it says make a conjecture about the sum of the measures of the acute angles in a right triangle. Justify your reasonings. So the conjecture, that word just means a hypothesis or a theory. Give us your thoughts about the sum of the angles in an acute angle, of the acute angles in a right triangle. So all of our right triangles have that 90-degree in them. And so what they're looking for is that this angle plus this angle has to equal 90 degrees because the other 90 degrees is already there. So we know that 180 minus 90 is 90, which means that the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2, if this is 1 and 2, have to equal together 90 degrees because that's all that's left in the triangle. Okay, so this part at the bottom of your paper is as hard as it gets. So we are going to take everything that we know and go ahead and apply it. So we know that this angle, J plus K plus L, all three are going to add up to be 180 degrees. So I'm just going to go ahead and write it all out. So I have 2x minus 14, plus I'm going to add 3x plus 10. And then I'm also going to add x minus 2. And all of that's going to equal 180. Now we know that as we go through that we can go ahead and just combine like terms. This is an x, this is an x, and this is an x. Remember that when you're combining like terms, you always include the sign that goes in front of it. So this is a positive 2x, this is a positive 3x, and this is a positive 1x. So 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So I have 6 x's. Now I'm going to go ahead and look at my non-x's, my regular numbers, my constants. I have negative 14, positive 10, and negative 2. So when I have $14 that I owe someone plus $10 that I have, I still owe them $4. So that's a negative 4. And then if I owe them 2 more, then that's going to become a negative 6. So then I'm going to add all those together and get negative 6. If you are not sure about that, please go ahead and throw it in your calculator. It's not going to hurt anything to throw it in your calculator, and you are sure that you are correct. So here we are going to go ahead and do the opposite to solve it through. The opposite of this negative is a positive, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that on both sides. This cancels, leaving me 186 on this side equals 6x. And now we're going to undo this by doing the opposite as well. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6. 186 divided by 6 is going to be 31. So x is going to equal 31 degrees. Okay, so when we go back up and we read the question again, we notice that they don't care what x equals. That was not the question. The question was, what are the measures of the angles? So now I have to take this 31 and I have to plug it in everywhere that x is. So let's start here. I'm going to have 31 minus 2, and 31 minus 2 is 29. So the measure of angle L is going to equal 29 degrees. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do this bottom one on K. So I have 3 times 31 plus 10. Remember to use PEMDAS. So 3 times 31 is 93, plus another 10 is going to be 103. Therefore, the measure of angle K is going to be 103 degrees. Now on this last angle, I could go ahead and drop in my angle. So I have 2 times x, which is 31, minus 14. 2 times 31 is going to be 62, minus 14 is going to be 48. So the measure of angle J is 48 degrees. Okay, so now it would be really wise to do a really quick check. 48 plus 29 plus 103, we want to know, is that going to equal 180? Because it does, we know that we have done it correctly and that my measures are probably right. There's a little bit of room for error on which one goes with which, but we know that they will all add up to be 180, which was the goal. So we are pretty safe in assuming that we are correct. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing over here on the right-hand side. We know that the measures of the inside of the triangle are going to equal 180. And then we're going to add up all of the insides. You can go ahead and pause it and then come back to it after you have tried to work it to make sure that you have it correct. Okay, so now that you are back, we're going to go ahead. I've written the measure of angle F plus the measure of angle P plus the measure of angle B, and I've placed it all equal to 180. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to combine like terms. So here I have 3 x's. They are all positive x's. And this one is a 1x, this is a 1x, and this is a 1x. So that gives me 3 x's. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to combine like terms with my constant numbers. So I have -3, -2, +5. So -3 plus -2 is going to be 5, -5, plus 5, that's like me owing $5 to someone and I have $5 to pay them. So then I have nothing left. Do I need to write a +0? No, I don't, so I can just leave that off, but that is what our answer would be. Then I'm going to have equals 180. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 3 because that's how we undo that 3x. So x is going to equal 60. Now once again we're going to go up and we're going to see what is the actual measure that we are looking for. Well, we are not looking for x equals 60. We are looking for what the measure of angle F is. So I'm going to do 60 in place of this x right here, and then -3. And I'm going to see that this angle is 57. Now, just to make sure that I have them correct, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. It's easy to assume that we are right, but going back through, we'll go ahead and guarantee it. So here, x is 60, plus 5 is 65. Here, x is 60, minus 2 is going to be 58. Now I'm just going to add all of those up. If I add 65 plus 57 plus 58, what am I going to have? Quick run on my calculator says it's 180 degrees. So that's my check just to make sure that I'm accurate. Okay, so that's all of your notes for this section. You may go ahead and jump into your homework. Be sure to ask me if you have any questions. Thank you so much.